Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make my layered lucky horseshoe paper craft project for a wedding. This is a free SVG which you can cut out with your Cricut or other digital cutting machine. There are lots of lovely layers of intricate cardstock to make up the horseshoe, and it's perfect for either a wedding gift or you could size it smaller to go on a card. Let's find out how to make it. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to upload the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then go into Upload over on the left, and then click Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or you can drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then the file to upload is the one which starts SVG in the file name. I'll click and drag mine in, and then it should look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you can see all the layers next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom and then try again and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. Click Upload and then the design will appear in your recent uploads. So you can click it to get the green border around the edge and then press Add to Canvas. This is quite a simple layered design in terms of the amount of layers and also the colours. If we click Colour Sync over here on the top right, you can see that this is only going to need 4 colours. We've got a white, a pale blue, a slightly darker blue, and then a gold. If you wanted to, you could change the colour to match the wedding colours if you know what the bride and groom are going to be having. And to do that, simply click on the layer in the Layers panel, and then go into the drop down here and then you can change it. For example, if their wedding colour was purple, you could change that to 2 shades of purple, and then it just makes it a little bit more personalised for the couple that you're giving it to. To resize the design, click on it and then make sure this padlock icon is closed. If it's open, then click it to close it. And now that mine is closed, I'm going to change the height to 7.25 inches tall. Press Enter on my keyboard and you see the width changed in proportion. So that's all staying looking nice and lovely. Actually, I'm just going to put it back to the original colours and then do that again. So 7.25 inches tall. For this design, I wouldn't make it smaller than maybe 6 inches tall, because the lettering is quite narrow in places and it will get quite small and hard to cut and it might tear. If you do want to make it a lot smaller than that, then what you can do is hide the Just Married layer by going over to the Layers panel, finding it, and it's that top one, and click the eye next to it to hide it. And then this will be able to be cut much smaller because you don't have those little tiny connectors on the letters. You could maybe add some other text in there or put the couple's name or put some little maybe peel off stickers of hearts or something to fill up the space. I'm going to cut this with the text, so I'm all ready to go ahead and press Make It, and that will separate it out into the different colours. You can change the paper size in these drop downs, and you might find that it splits things onto different sheets. I reckon I could get this Just Married onto that first sheet, so let's give it a go. Click the 3 little dots and then Move Object, and then make sure you choose the same colour and press Confirm. And then if I rotate that round, ooh, it doesn't quite fit. Look, it's still touching there. But there it works out just fine. So this is a really handy trick for using up more of your materials without having to go onto a separate sheet. Just be really careful when you're moving things about that it doesn't overlap any of the other bits that are already on that sheet. Otherwise it won't cut out properly. So let's just go and change the rest of my paper to A4. And then this would all be ready to cut out. When you're happy with how it's all looking, click continue and it will connect to your Cricut machine and then get everything cut out from your different colours of cardstock. Here are all of my layers cut out and I've just laid them one on top of the other to check that I'm happy with all of the colours and to make sure that I haven't accidentally missed anything. However, to stick it together, we need to start at the bottom and work our way up. So we need to move all of these layers around. I'm going to try and keep them in vaguely the right order as I move them apart until I end up with just the bottom two. And be very careful with that dot from the eye in Just Married. Don't lose it. I'm going to put that. So what? I've got a pair of scissors here. I'm going to balance it on there so that I hopefully won't lose it because that is teeny tiny. Alright, so this is my bottom layer, which is the solid white. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but I've cut it from kind of a mottled effect cardstock, hammered effect card, which gives it a lovely kind of extra depth and luxury to the card. And then for my other colours in blue, these are cut from a linen effect. There you go, you can see that. So it's just got that extra little dappling on the card, which I think makes it look a little bit fancier. So this one's going to sit on here and I'm going to use 3D foam for this one. So let's turn it over. And I have very big foam pads at the moment, so I've cut them into strips to make them smaller. And I've turned this upside down so I can start adding on the foam. You want to make sure when you're doing it that you've got a good amount on there so that it's going to have a really firm base when we turn it over and stick it to the white layer. If you don't put very many foam squares on, then you might find that in some places it sort of domes downwards under the weight of the other layers on top, which is fine, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it won't look as nice and as professional and as beautiful if you just add a few extra foam squares to give that stability. I'm going to try and get some in there. I need to cut my foam smaller to fit and I don't want to use my scissors because I'm balancing that teeny tiny piece of the eye on them. I'm just looking to see if I've got any smaller bits. I think this one will do. Let's see if that'll fit. Okay, cool. So you don't want the foam to go over the edges of any of the cardstock, otherwise you'll see it when we turn it round, which we don't want. But that bit is just about the right size, and I think this one will go in there. That was lucky, okay. Now I can peel the tops off of my foam squares to reveal all of that stickiness underneath. I'm going to turn this over and bring my base back in. I know it's a bit hard to see because it's white on white. And then line this up. I'm going to use the rings as my little guide for where to put it because they'll line up exactly. Whereas the rest of it has a little border with the white, so you'll see the white through, but the rings cover up the white completely. And I'm just going to gently drop this so I can check I'm happy with the positioning. And if I wasn't, then I could have just picked this up again because I haven't firmly stuck it yet and it's not going to damage anything. But I am happy with that, so let's push down to seal all of that foam. And then move on to the next layer, which is this one. Now it's up to you on this one. You could use foam if you want to, if you're feeling particularly brave. However, glue's probably going to be easier because of all of the narrow pieces on here. So let's turn it upside down and add some glue. The glue I'm using is called Kalal. It's a solvent-based glue and I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some other glues can do. And then to make it even easier, I put it in these needle tip applicator bottles, which I buy on Amazon. And these are brilliant because the very tips of them are so small that it makes getting into all of these details super easy. So I'm just going to go around these edges with my bottle of glue. I'm going to run through this quite quickly. If you're doing it for real, then I'd recommend going a little bit slower to make sure you don't get any glue on your work surface. I'll make sure there's some around all of the edge because I don't want this piece sort of coming up. And I'm also going to go around some of these details again because they're very small and delicate and I don't want them to accidentally get ripped when I'm framing this or putting it on a card or whatever I decide to use it for. Normally they just end up in a drawer. Okay, so now I can turn this over, being careful not to get glue all over my fingers, and stick it on. And it should perfectly line up with that second layer that we did. The nice thing about glue is you've got a little bit of wiggle room if you didn't quite put it in the right place. And then I'm just tapping this really gently because I want it to stick, but I don't want the glue to sort of smush out the sides from pressing it down too hard. So just gently, and there we go. All right, next I think I'll do the Just Married. Here it is. I'm trying to pick it up without breaking it. So there we go. It's very flimsy in a few places, so you want to be careful. And then this is another instance where these needle tip bottles are super helpful because I can just get my glue on the back of here pretty easily. Let's try and get this vaguely in the middle. Oh, no, that was too far. I probably should have looked at the photo of the finished design to know exactly where to start that, because I've put it far too far over to the right. Oops. Don't want to drag it around too much now that that glue's touched, or I'll get glue smears. So mine is slightly in the wrong place. I should have started the J a bit closer to there so that my D's not touching. But never mind, it's almost right. It's unique, and that is what crafting is all about. Okay, I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue for that top of the eye. Pick it up. If you do lose the bit of the eye, you could always recut it, just that bit. Or you could use a sticky back gemstone or something like that instead, which would add a little bit of sparkle. I think that would be really nice. But there we go. I didn't lose that, which is very impressive for me. All right, next we've got the ribbon. And it starts with the layer that's got the two bits coming up the top. And this will be a foam layer to give the depth and dimension. I want to put some foam in these bits to make them have that nice stability to them. And now I've done the eye, I can actually use my scissors. So I'll cut these super duper thin to get a couple of pieces in the back of the rings. I think one more down this side. There we are, and now I can peel the tops off to reveal all of that sticky. Then, just like before, I'm going to line it up and gently drop it down. Okay, that's looking good. Next, we've got the rings. The bottom two rings, which are going to go here. And I think for this one, I'm going to glue it because it's going to create that effect of the ribbon with the next one for a bit of foam. So for this one, let's go for some glue. I've cut this from a gold card that's got a very slight shimmer on it. Again, just to add that little bit of interest. I'll try and hold it up so you can see. Where's my camera? Is it going to focus? There we are. So you can sort of see in the light. It's got a bit of shimmer on it. And then that will go straight on there. Then the next one is the ring on top, which I'm going to add foam for, to give it that look like they're all intertwined. And this needs some more narrow pieces. I've still got a couple left. This layer does work best with the foam. So if you can get it small enough, then I do recommend sort of taking the time to do it. But if you are finding it too tricky, then you could glue it instead. But you'll lose that sort of dimensional look that makes the rings look a bit more realistic. Okay, that one sits on there. Perfect. And then the next one is the bottom of the bow. And I'm going to glue this because it makes up the extra loop of the ribbon here. And if it was up even further, I think you'd lose the effect because that bit down the bottom would be too far away. It would get hidden in shadow. So a little bit of glue is all we need for this piece. There. And then the bit of bow on top, it's kind of up to you if you glue or you foam it. It's a slightly different shade of white. So I've got a white and a sort of ivory. I think I'm going to glue it because this is already quite far out from the horseshoe. And I don't want it to become too thick. So just a little bit of glue on there. And there we go. That is all finished. If I tilt it, you can kind of see that gold picking up the shimmer. But this is really, really nice as a wedding gift or to go on a card, or if you're decorating, you know, a car if someone's off on their honeymoon, then you could stick this maybe on the window as a little surprise for the bride and groom, or whatever else you want to do. It would also be lovely in scrapbooks if you just glued all of the layers instead of adding the foam. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make my wedding lucky horseshoe on your Cricut or other cutting machine. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more layered designs and free SVGs. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!